News, traffic, and weather station.
1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour, a measure to reduce the income tax rate in Utah, slightly now a step closer to becoming law of the land. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
The bill would lower the rate by another 0.20% from 4.55 to 4.5% for Utahns and businesses. Representative Kay Christopherson sponsoring it.
It's reducing the burden on the general population.
The committee ended up passing the bill with 2 lawmakers voting no, including Representative Jennifer Daly Provo, who says families really wouldn't feel the impact since it would only save people roughly $48 a year.
The bill is now headed to the House floor for consideration. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. As Republicans move forward with their partisan budget blueprint, House Democrats today gathered on the Capitol steps to protest what's being called an assault on democracy imposed by the GOP's unified control of the nation's capital. Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries leading the group.
Donald Trump, the administration, and House Republicans are hurting the American people. It's unacceptable, unconscionable, un-American, and we are not going to stand for it 1 minute.
House Republicans are hoping to pass their budget resolution later today, though the vote may be narrow. It aims to cut up to $2 trillion from the social safety net programs. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up almost 200 points. The S&P is down 15, and the NASDAQ is down 200 points. Coming up, the spring-like weather continues. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 101.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99. With the ultra-bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super-fast 5G network. See? Isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account and port in on $60 plan. First service charge, tax to its sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, convenience, and exceptional service. With 3 locations, Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, Performance Automotive is here to serve your needs. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, where excellence comes standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
And it's happening right now. I'm looking at a live shot of crews that are just now starting to take up those orange barrels, and that right lane will be open soon, southbound I-15 near 2300 North in Sunset, and you will see these backups clear out quickly. But again, it's still going to take an extra 5 to 10 minutes to get all of those barrels out of the way and have that right lane completely open from where we had the damaged roadway. Utah Symphony performs the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today at Abravanel Hall. Don't miss Mahler, Mozart, and more. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunshine with some light clouds over the next 6 days. Temperatures expected to hit 52 today, 47 tomorrow, and 51 on Thursday as the mild weather continues. Right now it's sunny and 51 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
As the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, goes about laying off thousands and thousands of government workers, they may soon have to deal with some staffing issues themselves, including resignations. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Aaron Ryder. Good to see you again, Aaron.
Likewise.
Today, more than 20 civil service employees resigned from DOGE, saying they wouldn't take part in an effort to, quote, dismantle critical public services. And a lot of these services, Aaron, are things that have been in place for a long time, either by Republican administrations, some by Democratic administrations, and some of these staffers are saying, wait a minute, this has worked. This is something that's important to the people. Why are we getting rid of it?
Yeah, we have talked about this for a while on the show, right? What is the impact of DOGE? What is the reaction to DOGE? How long does DOGE stick around? I mean, there are lots of questions around this. And now what we're seeing is people who are walking away from DOGE. And this is really interesting to me. They're saying things like, quote, we will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize Americans' sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. We will not lend our expertise to carry out or legitimize DOGE's actions. So here's my question for you, Greg. How long does DOGE stick around? Like, at what point does this whole thing implode?
I'm wondering at what point a lot of what's happening will implode. And I think it's going to require something like this. I mean, if you recall, I think a week ago we were talking about the Department of Justice and jumping onto this, the New York mayor and some of the justice employees saying, you know what, if that's what you're going to do, I'm going to quit. And they did. I think 6 assistant United States attorneys quit. And so you're looking at something like this, DOGE staffers saying, you know what, we didn't sign up for this either. And so we're seeing in sort of small scale right now so far, Aaron, is some civil servants saying, I don't want to be part of this and leaving. Of course, I think Elon Musk saying, see you later. We don't need you, and you're not part of the crew anyway, if that's how you feel. But at some point it might break. It may get to the point where, hey, we're losing too many valuable people. Or I keep thinking Congress maybe steps in and says, hey, wait a minute, we're going a little bit too far, and this Republican-Democrat split that is straight along party lines, you may see a little bit of people coming away from that too.
Oh, I think that's wishful thinking. I don't think Congress is going to go anywhere near this because they don't want to they do not want personal attention from Elon Musk. They don't want personal attention from Donald Trump. And I think Congress has enough on its plate already with the budget and with other things that are being discussed. I don't think they want to go anywhere near this, which is going to complicate it, right? Because you, in some way, well, on the one hand, this is executive branch. The president has the ability to do what he wants to do within reason in the executive branch. And so does it even matter if Congress gets involved?
You know, and I'll turn the tables just a little bit and say, what do you think the public's feeling about this? Because so far it seems that a lot of the public is saying this was part of promises made, promises kept. I mean, Trump was going to shrink, let's face it, the government and the inefficiencies of it and make things more streamlined. And so, I mean, it's hitting home close with a lot of people. I know people, you probably do too, that have had government jobs and are suddenly getting these letters saying, you know, resign or else. But as people start leaving, you know, jumping off ship, I think a lot of the public is saying, well, that's what we expected. I don't know that people expected it at such a mass. I don't think that people expected so much so quickly.
I think we're seeing multiple things hitting right now. One, we're seeing the challenges of actually pulling back on the federal government because it is a very large behemoth, and going in there and trying to cut back on things is really, really challenging. Even if that is like your entire focus in life, right? It's just hard to do. It's really hard to do. We're also seeing pushback from people who are saying, yes, we knew this was coming, but we don't love the way in which it's happening. We don't love what's going on here. And so that's an issue. And then, you know, so again, that's why I wonder, how long does this last? How long does this continue? Because if Doge is claiming they're finding all these cuts, all these savings, I think I'm a little bit skeptical of that. If they don't do something meaningful at some point soon, then it's hard to justify the continued existence of Doge, particularly when you have employees who just keep walking out the door.
Right. And 21 staffers, these are civil servants, wrote this: "We swore to serve the American people and uphold our oath to the Constitution across presidential administrations. However, it has become clear that we can no longer honor those commitments." I mean, they're saying what's happening isn't consistent with what they felt that they were signed up to do and support the Constitution. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty harsh words. And we're talking about resignation of engineers, data scientists, product managers. I mean, these are high-level employees, you would think, people who you would expect to have a lot of credibility within the department, within the departments they work for, saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't know that I can still do this.
Yeah. And but again, you know, it's 21. Is 21 enough to really be critical mass? I think there's a legitimate question about that. You know, the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has pushed back and said, quote, "Anyone who thinks protests, lawsuits, and lawfare will deter President Trump must have been sleeping under a rock for the past several years." I think she's not wrong in saying that.
Right.
Like you said, people expected him to go in. They expected him to make changes.
Yeah.
And that is what he's trying to do. So for me, it's about process. It's a process question. Is he going about this in a way that's going to work, or is the sledgehammer at some point going to hit that, you know, wire, for lack of a better thing, and the whole house burns down? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. This is Trump's press secretary. She said President Trump will not be deterred from delivering on the promises he made, like we talked about, to make our federal government more efficient and more accountable to the hardworking American taxpayers. So I think that Trump is, you know, he was 4 years ago, he had these same ideas. He had these same notions of what he wanted to do, but he didn't get it done. And I think this time he was so determined. He had everything lined out. If you recall, his first day in office, he was signing executive orders that you would have thought would have taken months to think to get
he was
prepared.
Ready.
But he was ready. And so much of this is, I mean, he's been gearing up with his people, Elon Musk, this Doge. I mean, he's had so much time to think about it, and he's had 4 years where he was seething. You know what I mean? Like, he was under the gun. He was being prosecuted criminally. He was seeing what the Democrats are doing, and he was saying, when I get in office, I'm not going to wait 4 years. Yeah. I'm not going to do things one at a time. I'm going to come out of the chute hard, and that's what he's done. And he's getting some pushback, and some of that might hurt him. we'll see how it goes. But I mean, a lot of people are looking at this going, hey, wait a minute. Can we just back off? Can we just talk about this a little bit? And of course, like I said, we both know people who have had great government jobs, who love their job, and are now being told that your job is about to end.
Well, so with our last 30 seconds or so here, let me ask you this question, and I'm going to take the other side of this for a second. Do you think that we would see any sort of discussion on reducing the federal government if Trump were leaving this up to his cabinet appointees? Would Marco Rubio be going after USAID? Would Kristi Noem be cutting back? Would Kash Patel be cutting back? Or does Elon Musk's presence actually force the conversation that wouldn't happen on its own?
Maybe a little bit of all the above. And that is that these cabinet appointments were placed in a position where they were already sort of willing to do that. I think that they must have at least portrayed an image that they were willing to do that. But no, without Elon Musk at the helm, I don't think a lot of them would be doing it right now. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk to Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini, sharing some responses he received over the past few weeks since penning a letter to ICE about a traffic stop. And this is really interesting, Aaron. We'll talk to him after the break. Stay with us.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to Fat Cats in Bluffdale this Friday from 10 to 1. If you love movies, you'll love Fat Cat Cinemas. Relax in their all-luxury recliner theaters, and movies are always better with plenty of popcorn. Treat yourself to a delicious movie theater popcorn for just $2. That's right, popcorn is just $2 at select locations. Or you can order a handmade pizza, burger, or salad from the Fat Cats Grill, and they'll deliver it right to your seat at no extra charge. Entertain the whole family at a great value with $5 movie tickets every Monday and Tuesday with your Gold Cat membership. Fat Cats always makes it a premium movie experience at a price families can afford. Fat Cat Cinemas in Clinton, Bluffdale, and Saratoga Springs. Learn more about a Fat Cats experience at fatcatsfun.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
The mayor of Mill Creek is sharing some of the reaction and response he's received regarding a letter to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You'll recall a few weeks ago, following a controversial ICE traffic stop on the border of Mill Creek and Murray, Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini wrote a letter urging federal officials to take action. An investigation after the fact showed that the ICE agents weren't fully truthful in their reporting of what had happened. And last night, during the Mill Creek State of the City, I was there. Mill Creek is where I live, so Mayor Silvestrini is my mayor, which is very exciting. Mayor Silvestrini shared some of what he has heard in response to that letter, and so we thought it would be good to bring him on to talk about that and to talk about some of the things that Mill Creek is doing as, I think, the newest city in Salt Lake County. So, Mayor Silvestrini, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so just can you give us a really quick reminder, why did you feel the need to respond to this incident with these ICE agents?
So the incident reflected, the reports that I got from our police department were that they felt that these officers had not been straight with them. They refused to sign witness statements at the end of the interviews that they had with our officers, and their stories were conflicting, and they actually were trying to insist that pretty serious charges be pressed against the fellow that they had pulled over. And so basically to address that, our police officers have to work with ICE officers. And I want to make it clear, both our police department and me personally, we are going to cooperate with ICE in deporting dangerous felons and dangerous criminals. Okay. That's the law, and that's what we'll do. But our officers have to trust these guys, and if they're not being straight with them, it's difficult. And when they get into situations where they have to have each other's back, that trust is critical. So I wanted to step up for our police department because I felt they really did the right thing, the way they approached this and the way they questioned federal authority on stuff that didn't make sense to them. And I also wanted to set down a marker, I think, that, I don't want to see civil rights violated in Mill Creek. I don't want to see American citizens profiled. And, these guys at ICE have a job to do, and I recognize that it's a hard job, but they need to do it the right way. And that means without interfering with the rights of people who are here lawfully. So that's why I sent the letter. I asked for an investigation and potential discipline because I felt that from what I heard from my officers and what I saw on the video, that surveillance video from Beans and Brews, that something was amiss in the story that they were telling. So that's why I wrote the letter.
Mayor, it looks like you've had some support by some of the surrounding agencies, including your own and Murray. Have you heard anything back from ICE or any of the officials there in terms of, I'm not going to say an apology, but an explanation, or, hey, let's get together, let's talk about this, or have they responded at all yet?
So nothing like what you said, the first part of what you mentioned. They did respond. They sent me the same form response that I've seen them send to other media outlets and Unified Police Department as well, that just says that they take issues seriously and that they will investigate. So that's all I've heard, and I don't know that I will hear anything from them. I know this is a personnel matter in some respects, and I respect that there is sometimes a level of privacy that is associated with those things. But still, I think it's appropriate that I speak up when there's misconduct, they should be willing to, self-report that or at least admit it, right? We can't have an agency that's not accountable to the public.
Yeah. And, at the State of the City address last night, I heard you talk about this, and I was actually texting our producer during the State of the City and said, I think we should invite Mayor Silvestrini on to talk about this. You talked a little bit about some of the reaction and response that you've received to this letter, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit of that with us.
Sure. Well, let me say, I think, as I mentioned last night, when I sent that letter, I did it with some trepidation. I didn't know how it would be received, but I felt strongly that I needed to do it. The response that I've received, and I've gotten hundreds of emails and people coming up to me that know me, and but the response to this has been about 35-1 positive, thanking me for being willing to call this out, I guess, in a way, and so it's been congratulatory and thankful, and those responses are largely from Mill Creek residents, as you might imagine, but I've also received cards and letters from people in other states and from Salt Lake City and all around the Salt Lake Valley, Utah County. So that's encouraging for me that people agree with that position that I took. I've gotten about 4 negative comments. It's clear to me that some of them didn't really understand what I was attempting to say. I'm not interfering with what ICE is doing, except to the extent that they're overstepping, but certainly I'm not interfering with them doing their lawful job. Some of the comments that I got on the negative side suggested that that's what I was doing, though I didn't know the full story. And frankly, while I don't pretend to know the full story, I know more than a lot of the comments that I got, because I've had the opportunity to, talk to our police officers and our command staff and look at videos and review body cam footage and things like that. But anyway, and then there was one thing, as Aaron, as you know from my speech last night, there was one fellow who left a voicemail for me that was disturbing to me because, he's fine to be critical of my behavior with respect to what I said to ICE, but he went on beyond that and suggested that, especially calling out some of the events that we've had in Mill Creek to celebrate the diversity in our community, the, Pacific Islander Night, Hispanic Skate Night, Juneteenth, other events like that to celebrate different cultures in our community, in our Mill Creek community. And he said that those people are not, we don't want those people here, is what he said. And I, very strongly disagree with that sentiment. I want everybody to feel welcome in Mill Creek.
Mayor, Aaron and I were talking during the break that, like us, you practice law, and I recall dealing with you a lot as an attorney. You had a very successful practice. You left to become mayor of Mill Creek as it was being formed, and talk to us and our listeners a little bit about the state of the city and what you talked about last night, and maybe even your own experience in leaving the practice and becoming a civil servant.
Well, okay, there's a lot in there. Okay,
Sorry,
I'm
Jeff.
happy to say I'm happy to say that we just turned 8 years of after incorporation of becoming a city, and it was a really exciting thing to leave my practice and become mayor and form a new city. That's something that I don't think a lot of people get to do. I like to think that that I had some skills to enable that to go smoothly, and it has actually. And I think we deliver great services to our community, our police among others, and the state of our city really is very sound. We have a rainy day fund, or a fund balance of 35%, which is the state maximum, and we've also been able to make a huge dent in fixing infrastructure in our city over those 8 years with applying for grant money and things like that from both the state and the federal government. We've repaired and reconstructed actually a lot of our major corridors in Mill Creek, and what I pledged last night is to focus more on our local roads, and our council has the will to put more money toward that as well. So we basically doubled our budget for for pavement preservation this past year, and we're trying to do that again this year. So it's great to see that this experiment in municipal government is working out well, and I strongly feel that while I'm not I respect that the people at Salt Lake County did their very best to provide municipal services, and we still contract for a lot of those. But I think that the local control that we have brought to Mill Creek by having council members and mayor that live in the city and know the problems, and that I think we're a lot more responsive and more nimble as a smaller government to be able to be responsive to our residents' needs.
Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Sure, thank you. I hope you guys stay well. I like both of you. So.
Thank you. We like you too.
Okay.
I love
Jeff. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.
No, this is great. I really do appreciate what Mayor Silvestrini has done. Fun fact: I went to high school with his daughter. Didn't realize that until like a year ago.
Oh wow!
So small world. But no, it's been interesting to watch. And I'll just say really quickly that the Mill Creek Commons that they're building in Mill Creek Little City Center, they've been able to do that in many ways without charging additional taxes for taxpayers. And that's so really interesting things going on in Mill Creek. All right, when Inside Sources returns, Eye on the Hill 2025, more special coverage of Utah's legislative session. We'll talk about calls to reform the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's coming up next.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top local story this hour. Medical negligence. That's what the husband of a woman memorialized on countless billboards across Utah says killed Julia Reagan. He's suing University of Utah Hospital. We've reached out to the University Hospital for comment. So far, we've not heard back. Better cancer screenings for firefighters are just the governor's signature away from becoming law. Bill sponsor Casey Snyder says it's about protecting those who protect us.
It's also about creating long-term programs that are sustainable, that can help people before cancer gets to a point in their lives where it is destructive or fatal.
Firefighters are more likely to develop cancer due to the constant exposure to smoke and other chemicals, and 60% of line-of-duty deaths are cancer-related. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Vatican has released another medical bulletin on the condition of Pope Francis, saying that he has experienced no significant changes to his breathing ability today and that he remains in critical but stable condition. ABC's medical correspondent, Dr. Darian Sutton.
The oxygen supplementation has decreased, which indicates that he's breathing better on his own. But as I stated, a lot of these variables can change on a dime, and you have to always be paying attention when managing critical patients.
The Pope is suffering from double pneumonia. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 227 points, about 0.5%, sitting at 43,685, but the NASDAQ is down by nearly 200 points. We're enjoying spring-like temperatures. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, there's a window company giving huge discounts, saying it's the biggest sale ever.
And last month they were offering free labor. That just doesn't add up.
We don't play those games. At Window World, everyone gets the same low price every day.
No pressure, no games, and now we offer siding too.
Call Window World today, 801-281-8111 for 4 windows and a patio door for just $56.12.
And as Doug always said, that's no baloney.
Discover the thrill of adventure at the Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo. Dive into the latest gear, meet industry experts, and explore your passion for the great outdoors. Enthusiasts, friends, and families will learn what's new and what's cool, as well as the chance to win over $40,000 in door prizes and giveaways. Mark your calendars for the 10th annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo, coming to the Mountain America Expo Center February 28th through March 1st. For tickets and information, visit slorex.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus, the latest with Ricky Meese.
Very good news for Weber and Davis County drivers. All lanes now open once again. Southbound I-15, 2300 north in Sunset. Road crews have completed repairing the freeway and traffic moving through once again and no residual backups. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A lot of sunshine over the next few days. Today, high of 52. Tomorrow, a little bit cooler, but then the temperature gaining ground all the way to 60 degrees by Sunday. Our next best chance of rain, Monday of next week. Right now, 52 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
I love that special stager, Eye on the Hill. The Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, offers programs meant to help people stay off the streets and get into affordable housing. However, not everyone thinks these programs are actually doing what they're supposed to do, and they're really not helping people, according to some experts. A resolution on Utah's Capitol Hill urges HUD to make some changes, and the floor sponsor, Senator Heidi Baldery, joins us to talk more about it. Senator, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
And tell our listeners, first of all, what HUD does and what it is that the state is what this joint resolution is about.
So the title of the resolution basically sums it up. It's a concurrent resolution urging changes to federal homelessness regulations. So HUD has been unsuccessful. HUD's recent report acknowledged that there was an 18.1% increase in homelessness in the U.S., and that's a 2024 statistic. And while Utah's homelessness is only half the national average, our state has seen cases of chronic homelessness double from 14% to 20% of the homeless population over the last decade. And since 2019, there's been a 96% increase in chronic homelessness, including a 27% jump in 2022. So the status quo is no longer acceptable. And we've got great examples of people who are doing it the right way in Utah, say, for example, Switch Point or the Other Side Academy. And we need more of this. But, right now, our hands are tied to housing first only solutions with those federal dollars. And we want to get rid of those strings and use block grants to provide us more discretion on how we can use our federal funds to direct services to our state's homeless population.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about that, Senator. One part of this resolution asks HUD to grant a waiver to the state of Utah to provide more flexibility in designing housing solutions. So what kind of solutions are you guys looking at? What are you hoping to see? You mentioned the Other Side Academy and Switch Point. Is it more stuff like that? Are there other things you're hoping to promote that HUD doesn't currently allow for?
Yes, basically it's a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a housing first. And, that it's so outdated and antiquated. We've seen that this doesn't work. So my my colleague, Representative Tyler Clancy, who is a police officer for his day job when he's not being a representative, he's seen firsthand how these policies are failing on the streets. And what happens is when we put housing first, we actually enable those who need things such as, help with addiction or mental health. We actually enable them to do, to hide their addiction and not receive services when we only focus on housing. And so it's not very holistic at all. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can, here's another example. We have low barrier shelters where, anyone can go in, with your drugs, with whatever. But the reason that some of our patrons and citizens are not taking advantage of some of these services that we're providing is because when they go, they could be assaulted, physically, sexually, otherwise. There's thefts, there's drug use, and for people with addiction, being around addiction is very hard. It just exacerbates the problem. And so when we, to be able to say you cannot have drugs when you come to this facility, we can't do that and accept the money that we currently receive. So to be able to set standards and do some of these things that the private sector is doing, but with federal funding, and to have these block grants that will allow us to do things that have been successful in the private sector would be fantastic.
Senator Baldry, it seems that just listening to the legislature over the last, let's face it, a couple of years, there's also been a little bit of criticism to the local approach to homelessness. And I work downtown. And I have seen, like you talked about, the homeless population, it seems like, you said it doubled. To me, it seems like it's 10 times what it was before, maybe just because I have to deal with it more. But, and I know I'm digressing a little bit here, Senator, but is there a notion that maybe local response to this needs to change as well?
Oh, absolutely. This is a multi-pronged approach. But as we know, money allows us to do things that we couldn't, even if we had a good idea. Without money, it's hard to implement ideas. So, and of course we have great private partners, but there's a need for the public to be able to innovate just as the private sector has done. And, we're seeing kind of different populations that are adding to those numbers. So you're seeing more seniors that are becoming homeless due to, inflation and other factors. So you're seeing kind of different people add to that, and people, again, with inflation, who are on that fiscal cliff that, they're one paycheck away from homelessness. And so it's just, it's a wider swath of population that is unfortunately adding to this number.
So, Senator, this is a concurrent resolution. What does that mean? How is this different from a bill? What are kind of the next steps for this?
So the great news is we've got great relationships with our federal partners from Utah. So specifically, our federal delegation is already aware of this, and they've already indicated support. We're working with Congressman Blake Moore, who has taken this. Once this passed, he took it straight to the president. This coincides with the policy position outlined by Scott Turner, who's the new HUD secretary under President Trump. And so we are very confident that we are going to remove those strings and be able to have the flexibility that we need. And so this is just an intent versus a law. Basically, we resolve to. And this got the ball rolling for our federal partners to be able to take to the federal administration and say, Utah wants this. And we're hopeful that other states will do the same.
And when you're talking about flexibility, Senator, you're talking about the ability for state and local governments to have more say, I guess, and more involvement in the use of these HUD funds.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're doing this. I really am. I don't know if there's other things you're doing with respect to the homeless population, but boy, it sure is a problem right now, Senator.
You're right. I had the honor to serve on the Social Services Appropriations Committee as its chair last year, and I'm on that committee again this year, which is over, homelessness. And so I've also had the opportunity to tour different facilities here in Salt Lake and, kind of get a firsthand perspective from some of these groups that are trying to work in this space. And I don't know about you, no matter what job you're trying to do and no matter which industry you're in, I think that most of us would appreciate the flexibility and to do what we feel is the most responsive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Senator Baldry, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Aaron and Greg. I appreciate it.
Aaron,
have a great day.
Doesn't it seem like that the homeless situation has expanded in ways that, I just don't, just maybe my practice because I drive by it and I walk by it every day.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, when she talks about how the homeless population has doubled over the last decade, I use that statistic a lot when I was campaigning for Salt Lake County mayor, because just in Salt Lake County, the number of unsheltered people has doubled, like she says, in the last 10 years. I mean, that's wild.
Maybe
and really problematic.
And maybe just the fact that a lot of these homeless people have been sort of spread out along the valley where they were more compressed into certain areas of Salt Lake has made it more visible to a lot of people. And maybe that visibility is going to change some things. When we come back on Inside Sources, let's dig into another piece of state legislation that would change how the Utah Supreme Court Chief Justice takes his or her position. Stay with us.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Will you get your fair share of benefits from Social Security? You know, the new Social Security Fairness Act could impact thousands of Utah families. For personal guidance on how it could impact your Social Security filing decision, get a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Filing for Social Security could be one of the biggest financial decisions of your life because the difference between your best and worst case scenarios could literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You only get one chance to get this right. So get your free customized analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. Call 800-948-7878. That's 800-948-7878. 800-948-7878.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Are you and your credit card ready for some peace and quiet? Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Greg, I just have to say that I love that you love that special intro that we do
cool,
for the
yeah.
legislative session.
Yeah. They should add our names to it or something.
Yeah, Eye on the Hill.
Greg and Aaron.
Eye on the Hill with
breaking it
Greg
down.
and Aaron.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of the things we've focused on this legislative session has been the number of bills proposing changes to Utah's judiciary. We've talked about this quite a bit, and we have another one. One of those bills is Senate Bill 296. It is on the schedule to be discussed later today in committee. So we're going to talk about some of the things that it proposes, especially around the Utah Supreme Court. Now, we did reach out to the bill sponsor, Senator Chris Wilson, but he declined to come on the show until later. So hopefully we'll have him on another time. But let's talk about this. So what this does really quickly is that if it changes the way that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court receives that position, basically. Currently, what happens is the rest of the justices vote amongst themselves and choose who among them is going to be the Chief Justice. This would change that to say that the governor actually appoints the Chief Justice from among the sitting justices instead of the justices voting among themselves to choose it. So what do you think of this bill?
It does the same thing with the Court of Appeals. So the Court of Appeals currently has 7 judges, and they select from amongst themselves who will be the Chief Judge there, too. So in this bill, the governor would select the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, and it would be approved by the Senate. Right now, like you said, Aaron, it's just the 5 justices get together and they decide, or the 7 judges in the Court of Appeals decide.
You are a trial lawyer. I am not. So I want to know what you think about this.
You know, it occurs to me that the legislature is continuing to prod at the court. They're continuing to want to make changes to the court. They continue to want to make rule changes that the court has to follow. For example, when they're issuing injunctions, they want to change the standard. They want to, and I think this is another way of the legislative branch to say we want more control over the judicial branch. Now, it may not even make much difference because I don't know that
does this matter? Because it's not even the legislature who's making this decision. Right. It's the governor who is appointing one of these folks to be the chief.
But the legislature, the Senate approves it, of course, like they do everything else. But you're right. So I think I don't know that it makes much sense. I don't know that there's any reason for it, unless it's just another way for the legislature to say, we've got you under our thumbs a little bit. We're going to decide how things are going to happen. I don't know that it would even make much difference in terms of the Supreme Court makeup. Now, I'm looking at the bill and I'm looking at some of the things that the chief judge the Chief Justice does in terms, and they even get paid additional amount of money every month by being the Chief Justice. It looks like $2,000 per year, not very much, but to set the schedule, to decide which cases are going to be heard, to make assignments on who's the. So when they hear a case, they'll have the 5 justices there, and usually one of them will take the lead in writing the opinion. Or in the Court of Appeals, they have 7 judges. They sit in panels of 3, and one of them will usually take the role in sort of writing the opinion. So maybe the chief judge or the chief justice can make those designations. I mean, I don't know if it's a position that people necessarily fight for or really.
Yeah, do you think this is consequential? I mean, maybe minorly consequential, but not really.
Yeah, that's sort of my take, and I haven't articulated as well. You just barely did, but I don't know that it makes a big difference, and I don't know that why they're even doing it. It doesn't. There's nothing in the preface to it why we're doing this. Provides that the governor shall appoint the chief justice. Requires that the governor's selection is subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. So. Why we're doing this, I don't know, and I'm not even sure 100% where the bill stands right now. It's being discussed in committee, so we'll see where this goes. But let me ask you this question, Greg. And I was having a conversation with a member of the legislature this last weekend who brought up this question. He said, "We talk about balance of powers, separation of powers, but what we don't talk about very much is what is the check on the judicial branch. We know that the judicial branch can be a check on both the legislative and the executive branches. Right.
We know that the legislative and executive can check each other. But who checks the judicial branch? If the judicial branch does something inappropriate or there's something that needs to, somebody wants to push back, how do you push back on the judicial branch? And that's an interesting question when we're talking separation of powers.
No, it really is.
So I'm curious to know what is that check?
Right, because the check isn't the ballot box like the governor and the legislators have to go through every 2 or 4 or whatever years. We do have retention elections where the voters say, should this judge be retained or not? And we know that those are almost
it's rare for someone to not be retained.
Extremely rare that a judge is not retained for good reason. I mean, when you look at their evaluations, they're generally very, very well received. And I would say this, in my practice for the last 44 years, our governors have done a really good job of selecting judges. I mean, I think that you can say what you want about politics, Republican, Democrat. Our judiciary in Utah is probably one of the best in the country. So we're doing a good job of selecting our judges. But I haven't answered your question. What's the check and balance on them? I mean, the whole idea of impeachment or the voters taking them out is not really. It doesn't.
Not really
you don't really
there,
have that. I mean, I could see maybe coming to a point where we have term limits on what judges can do. But the reason I would not support that is because these judges and justices give up so much. I mean, you think about some of the people that I appear before as a lawyer, and I think this person is so they're so skilled they could make a fortune in the private practice. Mm-hmm. So why say, okay, you can only be a judge for 8 or 12 years, whatever, then you got to go back into private practice. That would be really hard to do. So, I mean, I don't know that I've answered the question very well, but we don't have a lot. I understand what your question is. There's not a lot of check and balance.
There's not a lot of check and balance. And I think there's an interesting question of should there be? I mean, yes, there should be because we believe in checks and balances. We believe in separation of power. One of the things that I've thought about is that there is a check in the sense that if, the judiciary is interpreting the law based on what the law currently is, whether that's law passed by the legislature, whether that's administrative action, executive action, or whether it's constitution, state or federal constitution, right? So if the judges are ruling on how they're interpreting the law and the legislature, for example, doesn't like it, well, then the legislature needs to change the law.
Right.
And then the judiciary would have to reinterpret based on how the new law is drafted. And that could mean either you change the Constitution, you change existing law, whatever it is, right? But and we see that, and I think that's really the answer that I've come to,
right.
Is if you don't like what the judiciary is doing, then you change the law. Now, the Utah Constitution does give the legislature actually some power over the judiciary in the sense that they set the budget for the judicial branch. They,
Right.
there are a lot of things that the legislature does in Utah that are different from the federal system that also provide some checks. But it's interesting to see all these bills come out this year where they're exercising that authority and they're pushing on the judiciary.
Well, and it's obviously in response to some things that happened a couple of years ago where some legislation that was controversial, let's face it, one way or the other, was brought to the judiciary. People challenged it. People brought lawsuits challenging some of the bills, and the legislature didn't like the fact that the judges issued either injunctions or simply threw out some of the things they did. And I think the legislature's understandably pushing back a little bit. But keep in mind, judges are reactive. They don't get to draft legislation. They get to look at it, like you said, and define it and say, well, here's what we think that means, or maybe it doesn't fit within our Constitution.
Yep. Well, more to come on this, I'm sure. Coming up, Senator John Curtis is offering more insights and opinions surrounding the U.S.'s vote against a UN resolution condemning Russia for invading Ukraine. More on that coming up in the second hour.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story. Better cancer screenings for firefighters are just the governor's signature away from becoming law. The bill's sponsor, Casey Snyder, says it's about protecting those who protect us.
It's also about creating long-term programs that are sustainable, that can help people before cancer gets to a point in their lives where it is destructive or fatal.
Firefighters are more likely to develop cancer due to the constant exposure to smoke and other chemicals, and 60% of line-of-duty deaths are cancer-related. Our top national story from ABC News. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has announced changes in the White House press pool.
Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join. Fear not. But we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
This is the first time in a century the White House will determine which news outlets are part of the press pool instead of the independent White House Correspondents Association. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 149 points at the close, sitting at 43,609. The S&P and the NASDAQ fell on tariff fears. The S&P down by 28 points. The NASDAQ ending the day down by 261 points. Spring-like weather for most of the week. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Ooh, got a dash light on? The AutoZone free Fix Finder service can read your check engine, ABS, and other warning lights to help you find the fix. You'll get an easy-to-read report with clear next steps. And we can recommend a trusted local shop if you need one. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service with shop referral. Only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is Rod with great news for Utah homebuyers. When you hire the SaveRight team of realtors at Realty Path, you get a BankBuster loan with a fixed interest rate in the 5s. What is a BankBuster loan? A BankBuster loan gives you a fixed interest rate in the 5s. Bankbuster loans give you maximum buying power. Monthly payments can be up to $800 lower. Bankbuster loans can save you hundreds of thousands in mortgage interest. Get your Bankbuster loan when you hire the Save Right team of realtors to help you buy a home. Start with a rate in the twos. Ask us how. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Get way more home for a lot less money. Get a Bankbuster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
The doctors told me I'd never move or do anything again.
A car crash in her 20s could not crush her tenacious spirit.
I don't want to be average. Average is close to the bottom, but this to the top.
Becky has lived 62 years as a quadriplegic.
She's an inspiration to all of us.
Navigating life's detours with relentless faith.
He could have healed me, he could have stopped it, he could have done anything he wanted, but I think he just changed my assignment.
The Becky Reeves Story, Testament of Triumphs, Wednesday on KSL 5 News at 10.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. A little quieter out there now, Ricky.
A lot quieter. No problems on any of the Valley freeways or main secondaries, and that does include north and southbound I-15 between Ogden and Provo. And yes, southbound I-15, all lanes of traffic now open in Roy and Sunset. GoPave Utah has 4-leaf clover reviews for asphalt, concrete, paving, and striping repairs. Schedule a free consultation today. GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A lot of sunshine over the next couple of days. Today, the high 52. Tomorrow, down to 47, but then climbing back up to 60 by Sunday. And then our next chance of showers, about a 60% chance on Monday. It's sunny and 52 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
While the United States joined Russia and North Korea in voting against a UN resolution condemning Russia for invading Ukraine, members of Congress have issued their own resolution supporting Ukraine. It's one of the ways we're seeing a rift starting to form between President and Congress, even among members of the President's own party. Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Aaron Ryder. And Aaron, it was interesting, but there was a UN vote this week, a resolution condemning Russia as the aggressor in the war in Ukraine. It passed the United Nations, UN, General Assembly on Monday, 93 in favor, 18 opposed, and 65 countries abstaining. Among the 18 opposing it, the United States, as you'd expect, Russia, North Korea, Israel, Hungary, and Belarus. And China was among the 65 countries that abstained, but 93 in favor, 18 against, condemning Russia, United States joining that group. That's a surprise. That's a shift that we would have not had under the prior administration.
Well, I think probably under any previous administration.
Right. And all of the European countries voted in favor of it, obviously. And 93 is a huge number and a huge support for it. But in response to that, a group of Democratic and Republican U.S. senators have offered a resolution of their own supporting that. And this is a bipartisan group. It has at least 12 backers, including Republicans such as Mitch McConnell, Roger Wicker, chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, as well as Democrats Dick Durbin, member of the party's leadership, and others. Looks like it was supported by Senator Bennett, who now I can't find, Democratic Senator Bennett. But it seems like there's some members of Congress, especially the senators, saying, wait a minute, maybe we don't support where the United States is in terms of the UN right now.
Yeah, and our own Senator John Curtis is in that mix. I think that this has really thrown members of the Senate because they don't know what to do with this. This is very different from where the Senate has been and the legislature has been. In fact, let's listen to Senator Curtis talking about that.
All I can tell you is if you look at who signed that with us, Russia, North Korea, right, these are not our friends, and these are not traditionally people we have aligned with. And I do think it's important to point out that that resolution doesn't necessarily reflect the Senate. As a matter of fact, we actually issued independently a resolution yesterday, 9 Republicans, 9 Democrats, acknowledging the 3-year anniversary and acknowledging that Ukraine was invaded by a dictator.
Yeah, I mean.
So, I mean, if you're John Curtis, if you're a Republican senator and you believe that Russia is the aggressor here, how do you react to this? How do you react to President Trump and his administration doing a complete 180?
Suddenly saying we're not going to support a resolution condemning Russia for invading Ukraine. And you've heard the president, Aaron, talk about the fact that he is now claiming that this invasion was the fault of Ukraine and Zelensky, and calling him a dictator without elections and being very critical of him. And I think a lot of Americans, especially we're talking about some of our own senators, saying, wait a minute, that's not the way we feel. And Senator Curtis was asked if he knew why the U.S. voted against this resolution.
But like I said, I don't get it. I'm troubled, and we wanted to speak out, as senators, and say we're not aligned with that. I don't try to get into the president's head. I think we've all learned not to try to outguess the president and where he's going. But I can tell you, as for me and my Senate colleagues, we were pretty firm about where we were at on this.
Last week on the show, we were talking about, I think it was me and Leah were having a conversation about, should people really be surprised that Trump is so pro-Russia and pro-Putin? And during one of our breaks, I said, I don't think it's a surprise that Trump is pro-Russia or is taking this step. I think the surprise is how opposed he has been to Ukraine, how sort of anti-Ukraine he has been through this whole thing. That's really where the surprise comes, because I think everybody expected that he would walk in and try and play nice with Putin. That doesn't really, he said that multiple times when he was campaigning. That's not the surprise. The surprise is that Ukraine is suddenly the bad guy, and now we're calling Zelensky a dictator and saying that Ukraine started the war. That's the surprise.
And what's the message to American allies? I mean, Senator Curtis addressed that as well.
Of course, right? I mean, I don't know how you square that right now if you're Taiwan. It really interesting. Israel joined us yesterday in our vote. I don't know what was behind that, but I think if you're Israel, it's pause for concern. I think it's clearly pause for concern for Europe. And like I said, I'm not trying to outguess the president where he's going. It's not how I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Taiwan, you've got to be a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Because, China has always expressed an interest in Taiwan. Russia, of course, Ukraine is at the first of several steps. If this goes the way that it seems to be now leaning with our president, and I think that Trump said even during the election that if he was elected, he would tell. I think he said at one point he would tell Putin, "Do what you want. Go take what you want." It just seems that there's a pushback, and I'm glad to see that some senators are saying, "Wait a minute," and wait a minute. Do we really want to go this far? And of course, what does this all say about NATO at this point? Mm-hmm. Where do we stand as a country with NATO? Because without the United States, let's face it, there probably isn't a NATO.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I also think it's interesting that China abstained from the vote.
Yeah.
They didn't vote against it. They didn't join the United States and the others in voting against it. They just abstained. And if you're China right now, you're just going to watch, right? You're just going to watch what's going on.
I was thinking
you're not going to muddy the waters. Yeah. You're just going to sort of play nice in the background and figure out what the United States is doing and wait to make your move, right?
Yeah, and maybe that's brilliant. I hadn't thought about that because I would have expected China to join Russia in that vote. Senator Curtis also said that peace is essential, but he doesn't want Putin to feel like he's winning this war.
I think it's, this is an area where we all agree. We want peace. The killing has to stop. This is where I totally agree with President Trump. What that looks like and how we get there, I'm more concerned that Putin doesn't get to declare a victory and doesn't feel victorious than the exact details of how we get there. But that's what's important to me, is that Putin doesn't walk away with the win.
But Aaron, how does this war end?
That was exactly my question.
And how does Putin walk away from this and save face with his own people without some win?
Yep.
I mean, right now they occupy, I think, 20% of Ukraine. Is that a win? If they could broker something that now becomes part of Russia, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
You have to feel a little bit for the Ukrainians, because so far they haven't been much involved in the peace talks. Mm-hmm. It's been Trump and Putin, and hey, how are we going to solve this war? And Trump said, I think early on, when I'm elected president, that war is going to end very quickly. He's trying to fulfill that promise, but you got to bring Ukraine into that discussion.
Well, at the end of the day, right, it has to be Ukraine and Russia that agree on whatever is going to happen here. Otherwise, the war does not end, and it only ends when one side gives in, or there's full conquest of some sort, So, on the one hand, I understand why Trump is talking to Putin, because someone has to talk to Putin. Someone has to bring him along, and Putin is the kind of guy who isn't going to walk away unless he can make this look like an absolute victory for himself and Russia. Otherwise, there's no way he can justify this. But how do you do that? And if you do that, if you're the United States and you cut Ukraine out of the mix, is Ukraine going to agree to anything at this point? And if they don't agree, then, and Europe doesn't agree, then where does that leave you?
Yeah, and I wonder how much of this is a part of the Trump administration talking about cutting back, saving money, and just looking at all the aid that the United States has given to Ukraine over the last several years. You know what I mean? And just basically funding NATO altogether. And Trump saying maybe it's time for the United States not to have to be the money behind all of this, and maybe there's a way to save money. When we come back after the break, federal judges have recently ruled against some of the things President Trump has tried to do, and soon may face impeachment from federal lawmakers. We'll get back into that after the break.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
When it comes to great deals on tax prep, Jackson Hewitt isn't holding back, and neither is this commercial. Their offer is so big, it has to be said with Reverb. Expert tax prep for $149 or less. It's a deal so spectacular, it needs a symphony, some explosions, and a clock ticking, because this offer, $149 or less. And soon, one expert tax prep for $149 or less. Try Jackson Hewitt today and save. Whew. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,025 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,025 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,025 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Flash sale alert. For 2 days only, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $99 with Zero Res. With the season of fresh start right around the corner, now's the time to get a head start on a home refresh without breaking the bank. Unlike traditional carpet cleaners that use harsh soaps and chemicals, Zero Res's patented ZR water lifts dirt and grime without leaving sticky residue. That means your carpets stay cleaner for longer, and your home is left feeling truly fresh. Not only does Zero Res deliver a deeper clean, but the process also dries in just a few hours instead of days, so you can get back to enjoying your home faster. And with the Zero Res 30-day guarantee, if you're not completely satisfied, Zero Res will re-clean any areas you're not happy with for free. Spring cleaning just got a whole lot better. For 2 days only, when you book with Zero Res, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $99 when you mention KSL. Bring that fresh spring feeling into your home today, because this deal won't last long. Book now at ZeroRes.com.
The system is rigged against you. There's a lot of money to be made keeping you overweight and unhealthy.
At Soda Weight Loss, we have one goal, and that's to help you let go of the weight for good, without shots, without drugs, without hunger.
So I lost 25 pounds. I was never hungry. It was very, very easy. I couldn't believe how fast the weight came off.
With Soda Weight Loss, you get real results that will last your whole life.
I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks. Feels great. I fit into my clothes again.
Soda Weight Loss is the #1 weight loss center in America for client satisfaction and results, and we have the proof at sodaweightloss.com.
Right now, for a limited time, 2 people can start with soda for the price of 1. For new clients only.
Double the reward, double the motivation, half the cost.
Get healthy. Beat the system. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio. Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Several federal judges are facing impeachment bids from lawmakers after the judges ruled against some of the things President Trump is trying to do. The lawmakers claim the justices are guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. Greg, it's pretty unusual for a judge to be impeached, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just doesn't happen in our country and hasn't happened it really very much in my lifetime. But we're talking about at least 2 federal court judges. One is U.S. District Judge John Bates in Washington, D.C. Another is U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer in New York. And they are being brought up before the Republican House, potentially they might be, for impeachment. And impeachment is much like it would be in the when we talked about the presidential impeachment. Yeah. To remove a judge from office, the House has to pass articles of impeachment by a simple majority. And, of course, the Republicans have a majority in the House right now. But the Senate has to vote by 2/3 majority to convict the judge, and the Senate does not have the support to do that. So is this going to be something that is mostly for formality or to try to get their attention?
Intimidation?
Or is it something that has any legs? I would be surprised, Aaron, if it even got through the House. I mean, are all members of the Republican House going to vote for these just because a judge ruled in a fashion that President Trump didn't like? I mean, that's hard to imagine.
Well, and what's interesting is that some of this is in response to calls from Elon Musk saying that these folks need to be impeached. And that also concerns me a little bit. You know, Elon Musk has no congressional role in terms of impeachment. And just because he does, just because you have a judge that pushes back, I think that's one of the things that sort of bothers me about a lot of the conversations we're having both at the state level and at the federal level is that just because a judge pushes back and rules against an action doesn't necessarily mean that that judge is corrupt or using it to further their own causes. I mean, if we can't accept a ruling when it, that it's not to say that it doesn't happen. There are certainly times when it has, but I don't know. I'm wary of that. I'm really, really wary of that.
Yeah, so let's talk about their high crimes and misdemeanors. I don't like that phrase, by the way. High crimes and misdemeanors.
Take it up with the founders.
Because
Greg.
I think of misdemeanors as like, speeding, shoplifting, something like that. Yeah, well, speeding's an infraction. But you know what I mean? It's like, hey, this isn't a big deal. High crimes, that's felonies, maybe, misdemeanor. Anyway, here's the bad things these judges did, if you want to call it high crimes and misdemeanor, allegedly. So U.S. District Judge John Bates in Washington, D.C., he's being sought to be removed from office after he ordered the Trump administration to restore government health websites that were taken offline in response to an executive order requiring the removal of, quote, gender ideology extremism. So anyway, the Trump administration issues this executive order, remove gender ideology extremism. The judge says, no, we're not going to force you to do that. And that's a high crime and misdemeanor. I mean, that one's a little hard to grasp. The other one, this Judge Engelmeyer, he blocked the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a government cost-cutting team spearheaded by Musk, from accessing U.S. Treasury Department systems responsible for trillions of dollars in payments. He blocked their access to that. Again,
so this is personal.
Right. Yes. Exactly right. But I mean, man, does Congress have the the heart to do this? Or
I don't think so. Because, like you said, maybe it gets through the House, but it certainly doesn't get through the Senate.
Yeah.
But I think it still could send a message, right? If you're Elon Musk, if you are Trump, and you want judges to fall in line, I mean, this is what they do. This is how they operate, right? And this is why members of Congress are afraid to speak out against the president. We even heard this a little bit. I mean, I'm inferring with Senator Curtis, but you don't want to be in Trump's crosshairs. You don't want to be in Elon Musk's crosshairs. The judiciary is maybe insulated a little bit just by virtue of how it's set up, but still, you don't want Elon Musk out there inciting members of Congress to bring impeachment charges against you.
Right, and Musk is talking about the judge, this Judge Bates, the one from Washington, D.C., who issued the order restoring the government health websites. He described the judge as corrupt and evil and called for his removal. Like, since when do we care what Elon Musk thinks about our judges? I mean, apparently we do now, but calling the judge corrupt and evil for taking a position that he didn't like, I hope we're not going down this road, because we talked about judges earlier, even the state judges, and with impeachment and not necessarily with impeachment, but having the legislature, how they get appointed and how they get approved. And it seems like more and more people are interested in, hey, should we really take a look at our judges and our justices? And maybe this whole lifetime tenure, this lifetime appointment ought to be reevaluated. To me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in my experience, it's not broken. But I can see there's a little bit of a wave in this country and maybe in our state to keep a closer eye on the judiciary.
And I think some people do think that it's broken, right? I mean, but answer this for me. If these actions don't constitute high crimes and misdemeanors, you do need a way to deal with judges who are misbehaving.
Sure.
So what should constitute a high crime and misdemeanor? When should a judge be subject to something like this? I mean, I think we've only had 15 federal judges ever be impeached in the history of our country. That's not a very high number. But, how do you evaluate the behavior of a judge and decide whether or not it's appropriate? If they're issuing rulings that go contrary to their testimony in their confirmation hearings, is that sufficient? I mean, how do you evaluate that?
Yeah, and I guess I go back to my own practice and think about due process and think about what is fair. I mean, when you're going to take somebody's job away or their position away, maybe there should be some level of due process. And of course, I do criminal work. I do criminal defense work, and so we presume innocence. We have the burden of proof. We have certain things that the government has to go through. And by the way, in American courts these days, when you go to a jury trial, the government prevails about something like 85% of the time. So it's not this insurmountable burden. But when you're talking about judges and talking about removing them from office, there should be some guardrails. There should be some, maybe that's not the right word, some idea of what it is that constitutes a problem. Now, high crime and misdemeanor, obviously if a judge committed a crime, a serious crime, maybe they should be removed from office. And that's sort of easy. A judge, and I don't want to throw out, are you taking a bribe or convicted of a crime, convicted of a felony? Maybe that's enough all by itself. Maybe they should just step down. But if they don't, sure, let's use the impeachment process and get rid of them. We don't need to wait for every 4 years or 6 years for the voters to take them out. But rulings that you don't like specifically, that's why we give judges tenure. That's why we give them this ability to stay in office for a while, because we don't want them to be subject to the feelings of the community and, this judge did something bad, we don't like it. We want them to make rulings based on the law, whether it's popular or not. And I hope that we're not going in a direction where judges feel like they need to pass the popularity test to continue serving on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think about some of the conversations, even with the U.S. Supreme Court, where, you're looking at people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg or some of these folks who people wanted them to step down because they were getting older, and let's get someone new on the court and let's do it while we have a president who can put someone in that we want, et cetera, et cetera. Right there, I don't know. There are some interesting questions that you get into when it comes to the judiciary, particularly federal judges under the Constitution, and how they are sort of appointed for life unless some sort of bad behavior, high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah. What we don't want is the brilliant people who want to serve and want to be judges shying away from that because of fear that they're going to be overlooked in ways they haven't been in the past.
Yeah.
When we come back after the break on Inside Sources, Democratic donors are getting angrier as the party struggles to find a central message after November's defeat.
I can't wait to ask you about this. As a Democratic donor, Greg, I can't wait to ask you about this.
But they're sharing their frustrations through their money. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. The Utah Avalanche Center reports avalanche danger is considerable today. That means naturally caused avalanches are possible, but it's more likely that people can start avalanches. And if you want to look this up yourself, you can find the current avalanche conditions at the Utah Avalanche Center's new mobile site. Our top national story from ABC News. The American Heart Association is now recommending new and expecting moms to be screened for depression and anxiety.
In a new recommendation just released this morning, doctors are urging hospitals and healthcare providers to screen for depression and anxiety during and up to 1 year after pregnancy, saying that psychological conditions during that time span are among the leading causes of maternal death in the U.S. and have been also linked to long-term heart problems and negative pregnancy outcomes.
That's ABC's Ariel Reshef reporting. Your money at this moment on Wall Street mixed market today. The Dow is up 159 points. Coming up, warm-ish weather ahead. We have the details on the way. KSL weather's coming up next. It's 2:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Looking at a really nice drive on all the Valley freeways. Salt Lake City PD clearing up and a small accident downtown at 3rd West and 6th South. And it's in the final clearing stages. Won't be there much longer. Looking for Saturday morning fun for your kids? Try Utah Symphony's family concerts at Abravanel Hall. Kids tickets start at $6. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast. Down to 30 degrees overnight. Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit cooler with sunshine and a high of 47. Right now, 52 and partly cloudy. I'm Jeff Kaplan at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Since the November election, we've spent quite a bit of time here on Inside Sources looking at what Democrats did wrong.
I love that you have to introduce this.
I'm sorry. And what they're doing as a result of their devastating loss to Republicans. I mean, how much time do we have? I mean, what did the Democrats did wrong? As a part of that, of course, right now, we're talking about raising money. And some of the donors, big Democratic donors, are angry at the party right now and saying they're not willing to give it any more money.
My Republican heart just feels happy with the fact that you had to give this intro.
Well, you know, it comes down to this, Aaron, and that is messaging. And the Democrats, and we did it here in Utah, we did it nationally, just didn't get the message out. And I guess if we start nationally, to me, Aaron, when the Democratic convention ended, the national convention ended, and we had Kamala Harris as a candidate, I felt so good for the future of the party because, A, we coalesced as Democrats around a candidate. We didn't have a lot of fighting. That convention went really well. Whoever was in charge and just said, look, let's just put her on the plate and let's get her as the candidate and go forward. I felt really good about it. And we're talking right now about donors pulling out. Donors gave her, I mean, she raked in money like no other.
Raised a lot of money.
And it was almost a joke. You know, I saw some pundits like, she's making all this money, but it's not going anywhere. And we can talk about her gender or her race. We can talk about a lot of things, but I really think it came down to messaging. And for Kamala Harris, I would say the message was that Biden did okay, so you could keep me around. Well, the public didn't want to hear that. You know what I mean?
And she kind of kept talking about, we need to change. We need to move forward. And people were like, move forward from what? Your own administration?
Right, right.
It didn't land.
And you know what? You might disagree with me. I think Biden was overall a pretty good president. I mean, people didn't like to listen to him. I got to the end where I couldn't stand to listen to him.
Yeah,
but the economy was pretty good. I think foreign relations were pretty good. What we were doing with NATO, with Ukraine, unemployment. I thought, he was a good transition president. I always thought he was a one-termer just to sort of.
He was a filler.
Get rid of Trump but it was just the opposite. You know what I mean? He made people want Trump more than ever. Like, hey, if this is the filler, let's go back to the problem that we had 4 years ago. And I think that went really poorly nationally. And Democrats, I mean, and the results weren't horrific. I mean, it wasn't like this seismic shift in turnout. I mean, but it was enough of a shift when you're talking 51-49, but you're getting that more on a national level than state by state. It changed the balance of the House and the Senate. And
it mattered in the sense that Trump won the popular vote, which has not happened in many, many years for a Republican to win the popular vote. So not only did he win the Electoral College, he won the popular vote as well. And that, to me, I think was where the nail hit the coffin. I mean, not that I want to give any help to the Democratic Party as a Republican on strategy here. However, I am glad to see this because I think that Democratic donors saying, look, you're not getting it. You still don't understand how to message this. You can't go out there and put everything you have into kind of quote unquote some of these woke ideologies that really, and I don't want to use that as a super blanket
exactly
term,
what
right?
you're saying.
But it turned a lot of people off. It really, really did. And that seems to be the only thing that the Democratic Party can come back to over and over and over again. And look, I'm all about compassion. I'm all about taking care of people. I appreciate what Mayor Silvestrini said earlier in the show, that as a resident of Mill Creek, I want people in Mill Creek to feel like they belong there. However, you got to have a message that works with what people are looking for. And the push, and making people feel so guilty about not being on the same page, it just isn't working. And so, is this going to have an impact if Democratic donors won't engage? First of all, do you think that holds out, or do they cave in 2 years or in a year when we hit the midterm cycle because they don't want to see more Republicans win? Or does the threat of the loss of money from Democratic donors weigh enough that it actually starts to change the party platform?
Yeah, as I look at this, I think that a lot of Democratic donors are going to go to individual candidates instead of the party. I think they're going to look at who's better for the Democrats right now. Instead of giving to a party that doesn't have a message, go to a candidate that does. So I think in 2 years, because of what Trump is doing, because of what Elon Musk is doing, because of what's happening to our country right now, there's going to be a pushback, and there always is. Let's face it, the midterms are never favorable to the sitting president. So will we get Congress back? I don't know, but will we do better than we did last year? I would say yes.
I expect
donors
the House
or not.
will flip.
Yes, and which could be good. But the Democrats, DEI, the Republicans did such a great job of making that a focus. You're talking about, wokeness, but what the Democrats did wrong with that is they pushed it down people's throats too much.
Yeah.
I mean, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, what a great idea. Well, it's more than an idea. You have to have a policy in your office. You have to have a staff set up. You have to do this. You have to, if you're this big of a company, you have to have this many programs in line. If you're this kind of a government agency, you have to have a DEI program. Like, no, just say it's a good idea. You know what I mean? And so it became a bad idea. And now it's a non-idea. I mean, it ended up hurting Democrats in ways that I wouldn't have expected. Some of those policies.
It really did, and I think that is again where I'm curious to see how this impacts things because I remember I was working for an employer at the time who was promoting diversity stuff. A lot of employers have, and again, there's nothing wrong with that in theory, but where they had concerns about me running for office, for example, they were also simultaneously promoting things like drag queen bingo. And okay, like fine, but if you're gonna push that in front of people's faces, but not support people who actually want to get involved and go make changes, well, then why are you surprised to see people run the other direction?
Yeah, and I was disappointed. I don't want to spend too much time on this with what we did here in Utah, too. I thought the Democrats did let's face it, they didn't do a great job of getting messaging across, and we didn't show good numbers in Utah for the Democrats. I mean, I think it was a real problem. Is there going to be a change? I mean, certainly there's going to be a change in state leadership within the party, and I look forward to that. But we didn't get a message out in Utah either, and I think that was a real problem with our statewide candidates. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we could have a long conversation about that.
Yeah, I know. And you were up to your ears in it, especially here in Salt Lake County, which is, I mean, even Salt Lake County was a mismatch of, certain people that did really well with the Republicans, certain people that did really well with the Democrats. I mean, you can't read Salt Lake County this year. It was really a funny year in Salt Lake County, and it was just an odd year for the state. And was it? Do we have an opportunity to not be a super minority anymore? I don't know, maybe not in the next cycle or two, but the Democrats have to do something to get those numbers to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you and I could have a long conversation about messaging out of the state Republican and Democratic Party, I think, because I think the Republican Party is struggling with some of that too. And they're lucky, frankly, that they have a supermajority here in the state. But one day that's going to catch up with them. And
we keep saying that. People always said, well, when the LDS population isn't the majority, that will change, but it didn't at all. You know what I mean? It because frankly, Latter-day Saints vote on both sides. You know what I mean? It was sort of the influx of people coming in from other states that kept the Republican, that kept us very much a red state.
And like you said, it may not happen, in the next cycle or two, but I think I am interested to see on the national front where we have the midterm cycle coming up next year. Like you said, do Democratic donors start chasing individual candidates, and does the party start to lose? Does it force a change within the Democratic Party that potentially puts the Democratic Party in a better position for 2028? I don't know.
Well, you got to beat me up on the Democratic thing. And the next segment, we're going to talk about Tesla. So I'm ready for the barrage
this is great.
There as well.
This is just going to be so great.
Stay with us.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99. With the ultra-bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super-fast 5G network. See? Isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account and port in on $60 plan. First service charge and tax to its sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-292-7788. 800-292-7788.
Will you get your fair share of benefits from Social Security? The new Social Security Fairness Act could impact thousands of Utah families. For personal guidance on how it could impact your Social Security filing decision, get a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Filing for Social Security could be one of the biggest financial decisions of your life because the difference between your best and worst case scenarios could literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You only get one chance to get this right. So get your free customized analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to Fat Cats in Bluffdale this Friday from 10 to 1. If you love movies, you'll love Fat Cat Cinemas. Relax in their all-luxury recliner theaters. And movies are always better with plenty of popcorn. Treat yourself to a delicious movie theater popcorn for just $2. That's right, popcorn is just $2 at select locations. Or you can order a handmade pizza, burger, or salad from the Fat Cats Grill, and they'll deliver it right to your seat at no extra charge. Entertain the whole family at a great value with $5 movie tickets every Monday and Tuesday with your Gold Cat membership. Fat Cats always makes it a premium movie experience at a price families can afford. Fat Cat Cinemas in Clinton, Bluffdale, and Saratoga Springs. Learn more about a Fat Cats experience at fatcatsfun.com.
Life can feel hard or overwhelming sometimes, but you don't have to face things alone. Getting help for yourself or someone you're worried about starts with a call or text to 988, where you always have someone to talk to, someone to help you, and somewhere safe to go. 988 Utah is here for anyone experiencing mental health challenges or emotional distress. 988 Utah can even help you navigate how to support your struggling loved ones. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal thoughts, trained professionals are ready to listen and provide free, confidential support 24/7. Utah, don't hesitate to call or text 988 for you or someone you care about. The caring staff at 988 Utah can connect you to the right resources. Learn more at 988.utah.gov.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Tesla owners once prided themselves on being eco-friendly. Buying an electric car was seen as a symbol of being green. But since Tesla CEO Elon Musk has become closer and closer to Republican President Donald Trump, it's prompting an interesting sense of regret amongst more liberal-leaning Tesla owners. So before we get into this
conversation, you're hitting close to home for the second segment in a row.
I'm
here,
very
Aaron.
excited about this. Now, as I have fun with Greg here and we get into this conversation, we want to hear from you. If you are a Tesla owner, do you regret your purchase now because of Elon Musk? Text us at 57500. Okay, Greg, you are a well-known Democrat who also owns a Tesla. You don't care for President Trump or Elon Musk. Do you regret buying a Tesla?
Okay, I'm going to answer that yay and nay, and I'll tell you why I don't regret it.
This is such a lawyer answer.
First of all, I bought it while Elon Musk was still sort of a normal person, and not that he ever was, but before he became MAGA. I would say this, and I'm not plugging Teslas at all. It's the most reliable car I've ever had in my life. I mean, I have never, ever, and I've put 100,000 miles on that car, had it in the shop. All I do is put new tires on it. However, would I buy another one? Not in a million years. I don't even like driving it. I don't like the way people look at me. I mean, it's just a regular Tesla. It's the sort of the slick, sporty model. But man, it's like if I could remove the nameplate, put Chevy on it somewhere, and I would. Maybe they should sell those so that we can sort of hide our Teslas. But no, I'm not proud to drive a Tesla. Although I would say it's the best car I've ever had.
Why did you buy the Tesla in the first place?
I was trying to save the planet. Of course, we've gone backwards in that respect too. And I wanted to have the electric car, I wanted the solar on my house, and I wanted to, I plug it into my wall at night. My wife, I bought her an electric car. It's not a Tesla, it's a Volvo. And we had. I even bought a Ford, one of those Lightnings. We had 3 electric cars for a while, and my wife was like, "What is the matter with you? We can't drive to southern Utah without spending an hour, charging up. The infrastructure is just not there." So we got rid of one of them and bought a gas car.
Interesting.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have electric cars. I think they're good. For me, commuting to work every day, 45 miles. electric car's the dream. But if you want to go on a trip somewhere, we just don't have things set up that way very well.
Yeah.
We're not doing a good job in this country, at least in this state, with the infrastructure for electric cars.
Well, so a couple thoughts on that. I had a conversation with someone recently who also owns a Tesla and said that they have never had an oil change.
Right,
never
right.
And that blew my mind.
Right, no.
Absolutely blew my mind that you don't need an oil change.
Nope.
I don't know why I had never even really thought about that, but mind-blowing moment right there.
Right, yeah,
So,
no oil change, nothing at all. I've never had, like I said, never had a service. But they're heavy. The batteries are really heavy, so they go through tires faster than you'd expect. Electric cars are really hard on tires. And another thing about Tesla is it's a fussy company, and in that when there are charging stations all over the state, there's Tesla and there's everyone else.
Yeah.
And they don't mix very well.
Well, it's like Apple and iPhones.
Right. Yeah. Right. My kids all made me buy an iPhone so we could chat because my Android didn't meld with them. But Tesla's
you
the same way.
made the text chat green, right?
Right. Yeah.
And everyone hated you for it. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So when my wife and I travel distance and we take her car, there are certain places you can charge that are not friendly to Teslas. And when I take my car, I have to go places that are Tesla. But I would say this: Tesla has it set up better. I mean, they call it supercharging stations because they're trying to be competitive with going to the gas station and spending 10 minutes filling up. So you go to these superchargers, they spend 30 minutes, but it fills you up. It does a better job than plugging it into the wall at home. But you got to go to a Tesla specific one, and it's so you just have to find them. Luckily, they're out there. You can find them, and Tesla does a good job of telling you where all their superchargers are because that's how they make money in addition to selling the cars.
Well, so when I was campaigning for Congress back in 2022, I remember having a conversation with a woman who lives out in the desert west of Tooele, over by where the wild horses are. Mm-hmm. And she said, Erin, we can't have electric vehicles out here because we need the diesel-powered vehicles to haul the stuff that we use for our day-to-day lives. Electric vehicles don't have the power capabilities to do what we need to do. And we're on dirt roads for the most part out here. We can't do it.
Right.
And it was an interesting conversation to say, okay, there's this push and pull where sure we'd all love to see our inversion improve here in Salt Lake County. Cars do contribute to that. There's no question. But at the same time, you need the technology to be where it's at. And I do think it's quite funny that you have a bunch of people who wanted to save the planet who went out and bought Teslas and now
but there are limits.
Here we are.
You're right. And so leave it with the truck that I had. If you pulled something, the mileage was just awful.
Yeah.
And with the Tesla, it does great. But once you go past 70 miles an hour, it doesn't do well. And it'll tell you, if you want to get to the next stop, you got to keep your speed under 70. Well, try going on the freeway with a red sports car Tesla going 70 miles an hour, and then you really make people mad because they're flying past you at 80, 85 going, what's the matter with you, Tesla owner? But they the electric cars don't do well at speed, and they don't do well when they have strain, like
like you're towing
pulling a
something,
boat or something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I work at a ski resort, and on the weekends I would take my truck up to the mountain to go skiing, and the drive was 10 miles, but I would lose 30 miles of range because you were climbing a hill. But then when you drove home, you would actually gain mileage because your regenerative braking is so. You know what I mean? Like I'd leave the mountain with 160 miles of range, and I get home with 180 miles of range. It actually charged your battery going downhill. And I've learned so much about electric cars that I wish I didn't know. And I think I'll always have one, but I've decided I'll always have a gas car. I can't just live on.
At least for now, right?
Yeah, I mean until the infrastructure comes in. But I don't know how they'll ever get to the point of being able to charge a car as fast as you can fill it at a gas station.
Well,
and if you plan your meals around it, like we're gonna have lunch here and fill up the car because sometimes that's how long.
But Greg, that just sounds like such a boomer thing to say. I mean, of course the technology is going to get there, don't you think?
I don't know. I mean, certainly in the time I've had this car, I think I've had it for about 6 years. Technology has changed exponentially.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has, and the charging capabilities. I mean, I've covered some trials up in Boise for KSL. The Lori Vallow trial or the Chad Daybell, and just going that far, in my Tesla, I I remember I went one day and Garna Mejia was going up at the same time, and she left an hour behind me, and we got there at the same time because I had to stop and charge a couple of times. But it was there. But she ended up beating me to we were doing an interview, and she said, "I'll meet you up in Boise." I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to be up there before you," but she was waiting for me when I got there.
Well, so far we've had some texts come in, and it does not seem like people are really regretting this. Although I do love this one text. There are 2 Teslas in this household. The text says, 2 Teslas in my household, mine and my wife's. I've typically been left-leaning politically. My wife is very left. Biden was terrible, and I'm excited about what Trump and Elon are going to do for our national debt. My wife has regrets, though. I love that one. So split household on that. But it seems like for the most part, people don't regret their purchase. Sometimes people have had it and then they buy something else. But, like you said.
But Aaron, how much would you take to own how much would they have to pay you to drive a Cybertruck? I mean, like, would you be caught in one of those? I mean, those.
I'm going to refrain.
Those
from
are one of the most embarrassing vehicles ever made. And talk about a symbol. I mean, I don't know. I'll never buy one of those. I don't even know how you put something in it. I don't know what the truck part of it is. It just looks like some weird spaceship.
Okay, well, listeners, you've all heard this. Greg Skordas, we have on the record saying he's never going to buy a Cybertruck. So if you show up one day with a Cybertruck, then we all know.
Right.
Well, I also just to finish off, think it's interesting that with the stuff with the bombing in Las Vegas, that Elon Musk had the ability to open the car remotely. And I think there's a component to that hasn't really been discussed of what happens when a company like Tesla can control your car for you. Mm-hmm. Do you want Elon Musk to do that? I don't know. Question for another day, but it's an interesting one. Thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow, you get me for a 3rd day in a row. I'll be here discussing the top political stories with Taylor Morgan on Inside Sources at 1 p.m. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.